Welcome back to the channel and a huge welcome to all the new subscribers. I'm very grateful to have you along for this journey. So this will be the first installment of an ongoing series taking an in-depth look into Caryma Sa'd and her inner circle of fervent followers. They've been given many names, but for the sake of ease, I'll be referring to them as Sadists. Originally, I had planned on a single video for this first installment, but it became very clear that it was going to require it to be broken down into several videos. These are going to be somewhat lengthy videos, so let's not waste any more time and get into it with part 1, chapter 1, Who is Caryma Sa'd? Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos in the series. Thank you all for watching. Now, let's begin. So, who is Caryma Sa'd? Well, let's start by finding out who she is from some of her own words and own sites. So, we'll start with CarymaSa'd.com. So, about. She is a prominent lawyer whose cases and legal commentary have been featured by local, national, and international media outlets. She is dedicated to achieving the best possible outcome for, I assume, her clients. Caryma believes that the legal system ought to provide a justice to the people it is meant to serve. A major component of her current work involves advocacy with respect to affordable housing and drug policy reform. That's currently out of date, I would say. An educator at heart, Caryma is frequently called upon the media as a trusted source for their news stories. Her cases and legal commentary have been featured by reputable media, blah, 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 blah. She articles at a top-tier Bay Street litigation boutique. What is a litigation boutique? That up. Where she had the opportunity to work under the direct tutelage of some of Canada's leading litigators. She was selected for whatever that is. Graduated from University of Ottawa, first out of 265 students in English Common Law. Several prizes, awarded an Ontario Graduate Scholarship in support of her master's research on the intersection between law, identity politics, and gender-based violence. So before she attended law school, she interned with a prominent human rights organization in India. She wrote and illustrated a simplified guide to domestic violence legislation, which has since been circulated to thousands of hours. In her spare time, she likes to watch wrestling. And what kind of lawyer is she? She's a landlord and tenant lawyer, as well as a cannabis lawyer, and recently she's added criminal lawyer here. Okay, so that's first site of hers. Next, we will go over to her wiki. So, Caryma is a Canadian lawyer and independent journalist. I'll come back to that, independent journalist. She is known for documenting events at anti-COVID-19 lockdown protests in Canada and is also yada yada yada. Art and activism. She has commissioned cartoons, which we will look at, that are critical of corporation, public figures, and politicians. She co-founded 420 Cannabis Court. And she was obviously there at the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. We will get to the Chris Sky event later on. And yeah, so basically that is Caryma, according to her own words. Now, she claims that she is an independent journalist, but honestly, she has absolutely no training or education in journalism, no accreditations. She's just someone with a camera. And I don't consider her to be a journalist any more than I might have been when I was in the news all the time. So, yeah. Her cartoons, oh, I find them very distasteful. A lot of them are sexually charged, and there's just absolutely no reason for it other than shaming, and it's just perverse. And I don't even want to go through any of them. But anyway, she thinks they're funny, and satire and edgy, but they're not. A lot of them are just shitty take, or well, they're not shitty takes. They're good takes with a shitty delivery, and they're often sexualized, and there's just no reason for that. I mean, I don't know. And so one of the things that really boosted Caryma to her current level of popularity or fame was the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa that happened. And she was there recording it as it happened. She was interviewing the people who were there protesting, and she was doing a fairly good job of it from what I'm told. Now, during the convoy, I was watching a lot more live streams that were coming from the actual convoyers because I was more interested in what was going on with them directly than I was in seeing commentary, because I was providing commentary through the convoy feeds on my own Twitter. I didn't really know who Caryma was at that time. It wasn't until a little bit later on that I really found out who she was and interacted with her a little bit. So that's who Caryma is according to herself. Now, like you said, she's a lawyer, firstly and foremost. So first of all, let's go take a look at some of the reviews on Caryma. And I'm not going to be biased here, even though I can openly admit I don't like her. But we are going to read the reviews, positive and negative. Um, and she has claimed that people are going in and writing fake ones. So we'll be looking at older ones as well as newer ones. So this is from Yelp, apparently. And there's only one. Oh, I don't think there's any. Oh, this is just the one. No, that's. All right, here we go. Filter by. Nope. Sort by. Oldest first. All right, 1 star. 2019. So this is before she was really famous. We'll go with famous. I don't think she's famous, but we'll use that word. So, very unprofessional and buckled in court. Cut our family off leading up to our second court appearance, which was granted to the defendant because she literally shut down when the opposing lawyer spoke. Her receptionist hung up on us many times when following up to speak with her. We had already paid her in full at this point. Before second trial, we informed her she was no longer representing us for legal purposes. Nevertheless, she took it upon herself to show us a courtesy, or so her receptionist told us, by even sending someone to court for us. However, we did not know in advance. We never met the person she sent, so they didn't recognize us in court when we spoke up to the Crown that we weren't represented. They did not supply nearly half of our evidence, and because she sent someone without our knowledge, we were not granted an adjournment to seek new representation, which was our intent. All we wanted to do was move on, yet she basically took our right away and our case was withdrawn. I'm still unsure what she personally gained from doing this to us. Crown indicated to us to contact the Law Society of Ontario to report Caryma, as they have never heard of someone behaving as unethically as she. Since this time, she is currently under review, and to our understanding and research, we are not the only ones she did this to. It is in your best interest to seek elsewhere for representation before wasting what appears to be reasonable costs that must be paid in full, which she will certainly take and run. She became a cannabis lawyer halfway through representing us, and prior to that, claimed to have years of experience in family law. Seems a bit of a scam. September 2020, 1 star. They will probably refer you to the landlord tenant board if you are a tenant. Misinformation was given along with discouraging words. This is probably a fake one from the United States, but whatever. 1 star, January 2021. Again, this is before her big rise to fame. She charged 40% more than I was quoted, and when I questioned the extra charge, she immediately threatened to sue. I was not expecting being swindled by a lawyer. Oh, he was a real person. Her response: you required rush in-person services during the pandemic and were advised of the charge per signature. You left as the bill was being prepared without making payment. You subsequently tried to negotiate the amount nearly 2 days after services had already provided. This is not a flea market where rates can be bargained. If you ran off from a store... next time we'll do the same. This one's reads in March 2020. Called many times, no answer. I had a feeling this would happen. We're reading some negative reviews. 6 other reviews that are not currently recommended. Why would... uh, these ones are hidden or reported as fake, possibly, so we won't bother with those ones. And so that was Yelp. So let's go to lawyerratings.com. And again, let's see if we can change. No, we can't. So we'll just scroll down to the bottom. So it's March, well before her rise to fame. We have 5s across the board. She worked her magic to get me the best possible outcome in a bad situation. I made a stupid mistake that could have ruined my life, but thanks to her, I got a chance to prove myself and get released on bail. Even the prosecutor said I was lucky to have such a good lawyer. Okay, about 1 year later, all once bad. Caryma started off great. Sounded like she might be an ethical lawyer for a change, but don't make her apparent warm fuzziness over the phone fool you, along with a presentation of very, very affordable rates. Watch out for her retainer agreement. She tried to bait and switch me by giving me a cheap rate and then a retainer agreement declaring in the final analysis she wants a blank check to be prepared to charge you anything she likes in the end. Eek. June of 2018. Bad review. Seemed great at first, however, she submitted evidence late, which made the small claims judgment go against me. She buckled in trial and made no argument for me or the hardship I went through. Had case law which she couldn't properly explain and major errors which shouldn't have happened. She didn't answer my calls or emails after the judgment, and so I didn't know what to do when I needed advice on how to appeal. Horrible. Do not recommend. She will be the reason you are guilty or go to jail. Innocent people beware and pay extra for better counsel. Eek. So we got a couple here from December 2018. Both bad. Very unprofessional. Cut us off halfway through representing us. We called and called to follow up, yet a receptionist would hang up and scolded us for even calling her. She buckled in court during the first hearing, which granted defendants more time despite recorded abuse that she never submitted. After being ignored, we formally emailed her, despite receiving zero response from her that she was no longer representing us. She sent someone to a second trial. Okay, that sounds like the other one. I had a terrible experience with this lawyer. The receptionist hung up on me several times and was so unprofessional. She will bait and switch you with less experienced lawyer and charge you the same amount as if you were hiring her. Do not fall into the trap like I did and spend more money on another lawyer. Avoid at all costs. So the rest here are all up to 2009 or from 2019. So this is again well before her rise to fame. And we have one bad one here to start. This woman represented the other party in a small claim suit. I was a self-represented litigant. She, along with her staff, bullied and threatened me relentlessly. She even manufactured a wholly false story about me attacking a member of her staff who was asleep on a couch in her mall office. Her behavior throughout the matter was improper, unreasonable, and unprofessional. Her lack of civility is astounding. Stay away. Find an honest lawyer with integrity who will treat you with dignity. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next 6 are positive ones. Oh, we got some duplicates. Oh, it was removed. Caryma and her team are what everyone hoped a lawyer should be. They are genuine professionals, informative, kind, and above all, effective in getting the best outcome for their clients. My partner and I hired Caryma to resolve a toxic situation with our old landlord. So happy we did. You never know what a difference a competent lawyer can make until you've experienced it. Definitely worth the investment. Intelligent, professional, and reliable. Caryma's team was very helpful. Thank you, Caryma Sa'd. Tuesday, July 17, 2019. Caryma Sa'd on CP24 yesterday, and she's totally... That's not even a review. I have happy to have used Caryma's services. I would definitely... Oh, these sound very generic. I highly recommend Caryma Sa'd. I called many law firms in Toronto, but she was the only one who suggested the solution to my tenant problem. And we're back to a few negative ones. Run as fast as you can, spend so much money and no result. 2 years and keep asking for more cash. I had a very bad experience. The most important thing I say is poor communication. If you want someone to really work hard for you for your suit, then don't select her. Extremely unprofessional staff, and to be honest, insulting. We have several properties we manage, and the treatment we received by her staff was completely unacceptable. I think everyone deserves to be treated with respect. This is not the place. So we're into 2020, and still, this is before her rise to fame. In my experience with Caryma Sa'd, I cannot advocate for her services or support any claims that she is running a professional or ethical business. In my opinion, she is simply an Instagram, Twitter-esque lawyer, seemingly more interested in press and social opportunities rather than providing sound legal advice to her clients. Caryma and her business, in my opinion, and I assume the opinion of the board, in the final hearing order on our matter, she was mentioned by name as being involved in malpractice, are not decent. If you are a legal bind, I suggest finding proper and ethical professional help who will offer you sound legal advice that will not leave you financially exposed, as my landlords ended up being. Caryma's advice service to my landlords ended up costing them severely in terms of their finances, as they were trying to fight a case they had no hope of winning. Caryma got paid, though. Two good ones. I got my document notarized at 10 p.m. Okay. Worth every cent, smart and savvy. I wouldn't have changed a damn thing in getting my tenant out. And these ones here, disgraceful leftist lawyer, no common sense, only there to make money from moron who want to fight the police. This is from 2021. Caryma is extremely unprofessional, as is her staff. Don't waste your time. And the only one that comes after her rise to fame in the convoy is worst experience I have ever had with a lawyer. I went to her with a real estate situation, and despite pretending to be in favor of tenants, she charged us over $500 for a landlord-tenant law consultation. What a joke. There are many way cheaper and more experienced than her. That consultation fee tells you all you need to know about how genuine she is. Okay, and now there's what else do we have? Oh, Google. I was reading some of these earlier. All right, let's see if we can sort them. So that's the newest, so we'll scroll all the way down to the bottom again. All the way down. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep. Probably should have got this ready before I start. All right, so 5 years ago, my experience with Caryma Sa'd was phenomenal. This office went above and beyond to help me with a despicable landlord who had demolished most of my building without permits, harassed and suddenly threatened me, who continually refused to take care of the criminal maintenance. When I first contacted the office and was put through to Caryma herself, I didn't know what I should do about my situation. My landlord lost in court. She quickly shut him down. This is a fantastic law office. 5 years ago. I don't know what I would have done without Caryma's assistance. Probably ended up with a broken family. I needed my rental townhouse back. To me, it seemed so complicated dealing with the N12 and the landlord-tenant board, although I've had this investment property for the last 13 years. However, this time things were different. I needed the unit for my family. I contacted Caryma and she took the burden off my shoulders. With her professionalism, she reissued the N12, mediated between my tenant and myself. Within no time was a release draft, and I took possession of the rental unit. I definitely recommend her to anyone. Oh, that's a shitty situation. 5 years ago. We've read that one there. 5 years ago. Truly cares for her client. She has a great heart, works tireless every day. She is an affordable lawyer I ever came across, and the quality of work she does was beyond my expectation. My comment is merely words. You can see from all her cases I gained media attention to the countless people she has helped. We'll see that later on. Just Google her name. 5 years ago. Caryma is a fairly new lawyer and is, in my opinion, making quite a name for herself, having quoted in articles and in the media spotlight. I received her name through a mutual connection. After meeting, I was quite impressed with feeling she actually cared. The price was on point. All right. Ooh, nothing. Still 5 years ago. Full marks for Caryma. Without her guidance, my landlord. Caryma is consummate professional. She is thoughtful, caring, and well prepared. Prices are reasonable. Expert. Man, she really, 5 years ago, she seemed like a really good lawyer. 4 years ago. Super nice and friendly to start. She'll take your money and you'll never hear from her again. Very phenomenal lawyer. Resolved within days. Recommend. Positive experience. The staff here are awesome. Okay, so it's really not till 4 years ago where we start to get some of these bait and switch, steal unprofessional staff, work with a revolving door of legal staff who are there one day and gone the next. You'll waste your money, time, and definitely lose your case. Don't take the chance to move right along. My landlord gave me an N12 in bad faith. Found out about. I know exactly. So he didn't really get her service. He just read her in the newspaper. That's not really a response. I was an option for 0 stars. The notion, no, 3 years ago. Notion of customer service does not exist here. Specifically, the gatekeeper picking up phone calls. He was extremely rude. I was shocked. We had several properties and we were referred by a friend. That still didn't change the lack of service. Have some self-respect and don't call these people. The response. The initial screening process is designed to ensure that prospective clients who book appointments are dealing with issues that fall within our scope of practice. Generally speaking, only active clients can be transferred directly to Mrs. Sa'd. Ouch, she didn't write this. It is simply not possible for her to speak with every individual who calls the office. Otherwise, she would not have the time to work on her actual files. I was Lee. 5 stars, no, very good. If you are a landlord, your tenant is squatting in property without paying rent, you need to reach out to her. All right, 5 stars, 5 stars. Whoa, 1 star. Oh, 2 years ago. So this is not a review of her law. So that's when her fame had started. I would give 5 star because she recently had me on my one of the more knowledgeable GTA and extremely pleasant to work with. Okay, I cannot. Oh my god. Ethical. In my experience, she is simply the Instagram toward us more interested in presence. So my landlord hired Caryma to help illegally evict me from my unit instead of providing them with a level-headed reasonableness. She instead took their money and banking on the assumption that I did not know my way. Common law made feeble attempts at imitate. Didn't we read this something like this? I cannot say whether or not my landlord was advised to pursue the action. However, I ended up being locked out of the unit, prompting an expedited hearing at the LTB. Surely a decent lawyer would have told their client that under no circumstance should they violate the law. Oh, yeah, we did read this one. This is just a longer version of it. She's not professional, very rude, and she made me feel like my case wasn't important. She had more important things. I don't understand how she's in business when she treats customers like this. I'm glad I moved on because things have been working on ever since. Save your money, find a real lawyer. Very intelligent and personable. Very rude and unprofessional. Absolutely amazing. Difficult landlords. Absolutely amazing lawyer, calm, compassionate, and very knowledgeable. Brilliant lawyer, highly recommend. Caryma assisted tenants who were evicted from their homes. Yes, I remember that one. Evan Balgor. Oh boy, there's some animosity there. User services 2 years ago, she was absolutely intolerable to deal with, kept interjecting her radical political opinions where they had no place, and charged me an arm and a leg for the time she spent doing it. It almost seemed like she was deliberately padding the billable hours by way of spewing political inanities which were neither asked for nor appreciated. Find a better lawyer. I charge block fees as opposed to billing by the hour. This is evidently a fake review. Very much recommend. The woman is absolutely a woman of ethics and quality. Deplorable, passionate, and effective advocate for people who don't otherwise have a voice. And is an incredible advocate for her clients. She provides strategic and accessible legal advice to get you the. Yeah, we had that one earlier. Very knowledgeable, passionate. I'm starting to think that these aren't actually reviews there. Just people trying to support her. I called the office of Caryma Sa'd at the front desk. It was so helpful to help me out and guide me to the right direction. I would recommend this office to anyone. Excellent lawyer who I've had the joy of working with as well as representing. She is a great advocate, kind of caring. I had an absolute horrible experience trying to work with her. Steer clear, put your money elsewhere. Not helpful, lack of knowledge of Charter of Rights. Caryma is very professional. It's really sad to see all these bad reviews coming. Of course, they're coming from trolls, whatever. We're not reading those ones. Knowledgeable, calm, and caring. You may not agree with every opinion she has, but some of the crazy views are pure nonsense. Extraordinarily unprofessional. Tried threatening slap suit for criticism that she admitted last week is actually true. That's not really. Doesn't sound like they were a client. She passed me off, didn't verify information, left myself and my daughters in a potentially dangerous situation. Thankfully, I found someone who could and did actually help me. That was 11 months ago. Would not recommend her at all. Very pleased with the level of legal efficacy and knowledge of Caryma and her firm. Highly recommend. Not really a review. Hardly a review. Not really a review. So we do have some review bombs here and some genuine ones of both good and bad. So that's clear that she has actually seems to have a lot more positive reviews going back further in time. And as you get closer to the present time, her reviews really fall off. All right, so I guess these are going to be in most recent. All right, well, we'll start from the top. Terrible service, terrible person, big time. Would not hate. What the? All right, that's not one. Always stay humble and grounded. Is that a me? Not one. Very unprofessional. Promotes. Nope, not really a review. Not really a review. Not really a review. Not a review. These aren't really reviews. Still not a review. Not really. None of these people seem to have been represented by her. Nope. 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 That's the same one again. So nothing really there on Facebook. Um, yeah. So that is Caryma Sa'd, um, or at least who she is in her own words, and some differences of opinions from other people. And I just wanted to add here, that um, she is a lawyer, and her law office leaves a lot to be desired. Now, I'm going to show you this picture. It is from July 12th, and the last time there was a July 12th was Tuesday, July 12th was 2022. So, picture's about a year old or so. So, hopefully, things have gotten better since then, but it, I can't express how absolutely disgusting that. Like, she clearly can't meet her clients in there. There's just no way. If I hired a lawyer and I saw that, I would just turn around and walk out. But anyways, that's her office apparently. Well, it was 1 year ago. So that is Caryma in her own words, and I am just going to leave the introduction of who she is at that in her own words, and I'll provide my own opinion on who I think Caryma really is at the end of the video. So let's move on to the next chapter in the video, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. If you remember from the first chapter of who is Caryma Sa'd, you'll remember that one of her big interests is wrestling, and her love and obsession of wrestling often crosses over into her online personality, her influencer personality, and this could probably be best summed up by what we'll call the Chris Sky incident. So let's look into that. So, what was the Chris Sky incident? Oh, it says the link is not available. Okay, well, we will go to the article. So, Toronto lawyer Caryma Sa'd to take on anti-lockdown celeb Chris Sky in an online interview. Caryma, the Toronto lawyer who has made a pastime out of antagonizing anti-lockdown celebrity Chris Sakoya, aka Chris Sky, will now go toe-to-toe with the pumped-up anti-masker in an interview. My agenda isn't to platform his dumb ideas, but to further entrench division within the movement. Details of the Saturday, July 10th event were posted on an Instagram Wednesday afternoon. I wonder if that'll show me the post. Yeah, there it is. So we'll come back to the article in a minute. So this was her advertisement for it. If this doesn't shout wrestling, and I don't know what does. So, like, this is what I'm talking about. Her obsession with wrestling crosses over a lot into what she does. And so this was the event, Chris Sky versus Caryma Sa'd, Chinatown, Saturday, July 10th, 2021. All right, so now we've seen that. We'll go back to the article. You know where it's going to take place. Out Chinatown. It will be streamed live online as part of the debut of Sa'd's online show, Caryma Rules the Night. Seating will be limited to 25 at the venue. This is also during the pandemic. Sa'd says the interview wasn't her idea. The marketing team at 420 Cannabis Court initially contacted him without me knowing. He replied within a few minutes stating his interest, and then I had to approve the idea. She says that she initially had reservations, but I'm planning to structure it differently than his normal interviews, which are monologues. Sky was recently arrested for alleged death threats made against Doug Ford. Those involved Sky's former anti-masker in arms and Trump wannabe Rob Carboni. Sa'd, whose affection for pro wrestling is well known, is promising no holds barred. There's a wrestling reference. Sa'd says she intends to ask about Carboni and Sky's other very public tattoos. If the social media exposure and barbs her tussle with Sky has seen so far as any indication, this should be a barn burner or comeuppance for Sky. I'm surprised he said yes. Decent chance he doesn't show, said Sa'd. So, in the middle of the pandemic, someone came up with the idea and she approved it that she was going to interview an anti-lockdown, anti-hate, like just a terrible shit person. You can go look up Chris Sky in the middle of a minoritized community. And I can't imagine that was going to go over well. And as it turns out, it didn't go over very well at all. Neighbors urge lawyer Caryma Sa'd to cancel anti-masker debate. The community group Friends of Chinatown is urging Caryma to cancel a planned outdoor public debate with anti-masker Chris Sky in front of Chinatown Center. The lawyer and activist announced plans to face off with Sky as part of the outdoor The interview was live streamed. On Friday, Friends of Chinatown wrote in a statement on social media that Sa'd is platforming a known racist anti-vax public figure and questioned the event's safety measures. Using his public platform and private social network, Sky inspires copycat actions such as the harassment of small and large businesses on camera. We have concerns that those sharing his sentiments against businesses and racialized individuals will be in attendance, resistant to follow the physical distancing advertised in event promotions. A crowd of unvaccinated anti-maskers would endanger racialized senior community members, especially during a time when various grassroots organizations have been working to get first and second doses to the neighborhood with one of the lowest vaccination rates in the city. As community members, we do not condone this event, and we express our genuine concern for those who live and work in the neighborhood. We urge that this event be canceled for the safety of the community. The Kensington Market also posted a statement on Instagram, safety warner for Kensington, Chinatown. There's some background about Chris Sky being a piece of crap. Um, she's criticized him, and she told Now that she is trying to understand the mindset of anti-maskers and has noticed a growing presence of right-wing extremists at the protest. Well, no shit. Sa'd said on Friday that the neighbors' concerns around safety and Sky's presence are valid, but she plans to proceed with the event, insisting her security detail will deal with antagonistic behavior. I know firsthand there are political dangers, and I also accept that I can't control every outcome. So she's aware of the dangers and the risks. She agrees that the points are extremely valid, but she thinks she's going to go ahead with it anyway. So people concerned about safety should know that the event is limited to 25 people and there will be strict crowd control. I'm confident in my security team's ability to protect participants and bystanders from bad actors. I do not condone any gatherings outside the event. Her lawyer said that Toronto police would be on site enforcing trespass notices. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. That she's ignoring the community, um, moving forward with it, and see how that continues to pan. So tensions continue to build ahead of the public mass debate. Again, she's scheduled an interview. It'll be outdoors. They've been beefing online. Blah blah blah. Here you go again. They're asking her not to do this again. They're calling this guy a known agitator, anti-mask, anti-lockdown, anti-vax. It just continues. Pretty much the same thing as before. We have concerns that those sharing a statement, sentiments against businesses and racialized individuals will be in attendance, and they would be, and they were, resistant to following the physical distances advertised in event promotions. Again, these are all like at the time, especially given that Chris Sky was probably at the height of his popularity among the right wing and the Freedom Convoy. Having him there was just not just a bad idea, it was a dangerous idea. And it didn't work out the way she wanted it to. It worked out the way she should have expected to. So this one here is from the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, who we will be talking about a fair amount here in their relation to Caryma. And it all started with this one here. This article here. Plan to interview racist anti-lockdown influencer ends in violence. Oh, really? Who could have seen that coming? So Caryma invited Chris, racist Holocaust denier, yeah, there you go. Anti-racist and anti-fascist, as well as the community groups, asked her to reconsider. When she didn't, they organized a silent blockade. Sky's fans attacked. So what happened here is that Caryma ignored the concerns that were brought up that she said were valid about the potential for violence and the potential for these bad actors, and she ignored it and said she could handle it, and she couldn't, and violence erupted, and that's what it is. There's no two ands, ifs, or ways about it. So, muddying the waters is an ongoing dispute between Caryma and other mall residents. The former say that she's not using the Chinatown Center Mall space as intended. It is depriving community members of the use of their space. Says she is not disruptive, and that the quiet part nobody dares say aloud is that she isn't recognized as a community member because she's not East Asian. Okay. That's a common thing that she likes to play on her minoritized status. I have never, don't think, seen anyone attack her for any of the reasons that she is, any of the reasons that, she is a brown woman, or a brown Muslim woman of Palestinian descent, and I don't think anyone has attacked her for any one of those individual things or any of them combined, but they may have. Nobody that I know that I can think of off the top of my head. I certainly have not. So it was alleged that the blockade was organized by one of the community groups, and then she walked that back. So that was a load of crap, apparently. There was a surge of hate-motivated activity over the pandemic in this area. Um, Not only is this event not permitted by the mall board of directors, the potential for an audience would be against public health code, and the risk of Sky's anti-mask supporters being present with those who are most marginalized in our community at risk. And they did. Despite both the public and privately shared concern, organizers, including Toronto shock jock Dean Blundell, decided to proceed. At this point, any person or group interested in stopping conversations ought to be buried under a pile of elephant shit. The effort any extremist group makes to prevent Caryma from having a conversation with anyone she wants will be met with a face full of F you tonight. I think this might be the first time that anyone from her camp labeled the left as extremist, so that might be the starting point for where we're going here. The Toronto police will be there. We made sure of it, and some of my friends, so not actually security, some of my friends, to make sure no one from any fringe organizations stops this one-man wrecking crew. And they So what did happen? Do, 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 do. The main event. Around 7 p.m., 2 hours before the start, demonstrators formed a barricade outside the stairs of the Chinatown Centre Mall's courtyard in anti-displacement garden where the event was to occur. Holding a large banner, masked or casket, they were going to remain silent and non-confrontational and to prevent entry for as long as possible. Unaffiliated community members were alongside. So you had community members and non-community members. Nonviolent blockades are a standard tactical choice. No platform for radius. So when Sky arrived on scene just before 10 p.m. and was met by his fans, snapping pictures and live streaming to the crowd, he claimed the event was originally intended to be a debate, but had been changed to an interview format because Sa'd was afraid. Sky managed to jump over the small barrier wall. He and others landed on the other side and disrupted the blockade line. So pretty much it was a big fight that broke out between people who didn't want this to happen at all and who were trying to protect the place they live and Chris Sky, something that was predicted by everyone who knows anything about Chris Sky. And so having this information now, you know, knowing beforehand that it was a bad idea, knowing the day of it was still a bad idea and nobody wanted this to happen, she proceeded nonetheless, and a violent fight broke out. So, what kind of responsibility did she take for this? What was her response to what went down in Chinatown? Well, let's find out. Chris Sky and Caryma Sa'd show in Chinatown disrupted by Antifa. Oof, no, well, I guess, yeah, anti-fascists. They were anti-fascists, and they belong to community groups and just community members and people from outside the community members. Antifa isn't an organization, no matter what people want to think. It's you either are anti-fascist or you're fascist. You're a Nazi or you're not. So this is her response. Um, A group of Antifa militants decided to take the law into their own hands and block access to the show. Sa'd states that Antifa members were being violent and used force against some of the attendees. She was shocked that far-left Antifa would act this way. An Antifa-linked account announced today it planned on disrupting her show. Sa'd now claims she plans on doing a recorded interview with Sky. I'm not sorry. This incident was I paraphrase that. This incident was the result of our show being derailed with comedians being bullied out of performing and the stage being blocked. The event was cancelled as a result. Congratulations, friends of Chinatown. You turned an event that was supposed to feature diverse voices at variance with the anti-mask vax movement into a Chris Sky rally. He was never going to be platformed in the context of my event. Your so-called counter-protest created violence. So she's blaming everybody else but her in this story. What other responses does she have? Let's check out this one. Oh, yeah, this one's from me. Not only is Caryma incapable of accepting any role in what happened in Chinatown with Chris Guy, but makes it about the community trying to silence her. No, they wanted to silence Chris Guy despite your best intentions to ignore their concerns and host him. Clout over community. Okay, but even if we ignore the fact that I used that venue nearly 30 times previously without issue, and even if we assume I would have completely flopped and made Chris look like a genius, does the difference in tactics justify shutting down my voice through physical intimidation? Because that's what happened. No, Karima, that's not what happened. People were there to shut down Chris Sky, not you. You're making it about you. You made it about you. It wasn't about you. It was never about you. It was about Chris Sky. People are allowed to make not the best choices, even mistakes. Mistakes are done by accident, not intentionally. When you make not the best choice intentionally, that's called a conscious decision, and you should be held responsible for it. The fact is that I could have handled rowdy anti-maskers. There were 4 private security, plus mall security, and hotel security. But I wasn't prepared for a gang fight or to move in on a blockade. His fans went apeshit at the end because they had an opposing team to fight. Well, that doesn't sound like that Antifa started the violence at all. The blockade set me up to fail, and I think you can or should be able to see that. And there are people there whose auxiliary goal was to see me fail. That has become crystal clear. None of this excuses violence on either side. Definitely, there was at least one person there who was there to see you fail. I definitely think so. But I think that's because of your arrogance and inability to listen to what people are telling you and your ego to move forward and do whatever the hell you feel like doing, regardless of the consequences, in my opinion. The blockade didn't set you up to fail. The blockade set up the community to succeed. It's a big difference. All right, let's move on to another response. Oh, look, it's from me again. And again, Karima avoiding any responsibility or accountability for what happened in Chinatown with Chris Sky. Not only that, but confidently stating she's going after community members. Which ones? Whichever she picks or chooses. So, as you may be aware, I don't know many of the people involved personally, so I'm not aware of the history. I'm just saying that I just feel it was a bad choice of venue to host someone of Chris's notoriety as well as his fan base. To which she replies, I am identifying people who were caught up in that shit and will get accountability from the adults who decided to throw hands. I mean the counter demonstrators. Bad choice or not, the blockade was the intervening factor that fucked shit up. If something went wrong for another reason, then I would have owned that. Again, you're entitled to think it was a stupid or even selfish or reckless plan. I do think it was a stupid, selfish, and reckless plan that you did despite all the warnings and knowing full well what was likely to happen. And again, the blockade is not at fault here. You are for thinking that you are somehow entitled to platform people like Chris Sky, and it is platforming him because you think you can control him. You can't control people like Chris Sky. There's no control in people like that. You would have been embarrassed, or she would have been embarrassed. I guess I'm not really trying to talk to her, but whatever. All right, another one. Chaos erupts between anti-maskers and residents at Chris Sky event. All right, so that was the whole thing before, leading up to it. They were looking. Oh, she wasn't even there. Huh. She wasn't even present. 50 armed Antifa with a barricade. I don't think so. It was a community thing. So again, here she's blaming the Chinatown, Friends of Chinatown again. She said that necessary precautions will be taken. As we've seen time and again, it is impossible to date or converse with someone like Chris Guy, but I want to try breaking into the echo chamber in my way. No, like you just admit that you can't reach someone like that, but you think you are some godlike person that you can just somehow get him to listen. No, it's not how it works. People like Chris Guy, Jeremy McKenzie, these guys aren't there to debate. They have their mind made up, and nothing you can say or do is going to change that. And I can't believe that you'd be arrogant enough to think that. She will be releasing a formal statement on the incident when I'm less heated. Please know that I'm not reading any of your tweets, so go ahead and spout off. There's a lot more to this situation than meets the eye, including mall politics. Again, it's not about politics, it's about Chris Sky and what he represents and his notoriety and popularity at the time. All right, so let's see your one on video.
I mean, I don't know that it's entirely organic.
Okay, hold on. That was not the one I wanted. Okay. So actually, that comes from the next section, where we're going to talk a little bit more about CAN, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. So basically, she wanted to interview probably one of the worst people she could possibly be interviewing at the time. She wanted to do it in a minoritized community that had already seen a rise in hate crimes because of the pandemic. And community groups, community members, organizations, businesses reached out to her publicly and privately and begged her not to do it. She said she understood their concerns, they were valid. She realized what the problems could be. She realized she couldn't control every possible outcome, and she ignored what was asked of her over her own arrogance. And what ended up happening was violence. And she refuses to take any form of accountability for that whatsoever, despite the fact that her being the person who organized this and ignoring being the one who could stop it at any time refused to do so. And now, instead of taking any accountability whatsoever, she's blaming it on community groups and community members, businesses, non-community members, and they're all being lumped in under this supposed group of Antifa. Antifa is just short for anti-fascist, and you should make people say that when they call you Antifa scum. Make them say anti-fascist. Make them really let people know that they are the fascists that they really are. But yeah, and again, the whole can thing. Um, she really took that to heart, that article, because they had also contacted her privately and tried to convince her not to do it, and she refused and refused, and she took it as an insult that they were trying to control her. No one was trying to control what she wanted to say. No one was trying to control her voice. People just didn't want Chris Sky there because of the dangers that he represented, and you didn't listen to that. So after that article was posted, it set her off, I'm assuming because of all the anger that was directed her way, rightfully so, over the Chris Sky incident. And this started a conspiracy in her mind, and only her mind, that the Canadian Anti Hate Network is out to get her, and that it is using undercover agents to harass her and defame her and attack her. And it's one giant organized group. It's actually quite insane. I'm part of that group, apparently, even though I have had zero contact with anyone with the Canadian Anti Hate Network except for Elizabeth Moore, but that was all public. And she's not with them anymore. And Colin Chapeka, and he just reached out because he wanted to make sure that I was doing okay after an incident involving Caryma and my family, which we'll get into in a later on. So Caryma started to get paranoid, and so I'm just going to show you some things that show that she really believes there is a conspiracy out to get her when there isn't. The reality is, individual people are able to see what kind of person I think she is, which isn't the person she presents herself as. So here we go.
It is conceivable that there are people who don't like me based on my personality. I accept that, and it's not my goal to be universally loved. But the repetition of certain talking points, the words that are chosen, the narratives that are pushed, makes this look like a more concerted effort. And I trace it back to last summer, where I tried engaging with the far right in a way that was perhaps unorthodox.
You weren't trying to engage with the far right. You were trying to Not Platform, but Platform Chris Sky, who was at the time one of the biggest faces of the far right. So let's back that up just a little bit. You weren't engaging the far right. You were engaging one individual, an individual who presented a real danger to a community that didn't want him there.
Orthodox, but worked for me. And it, the idea that there was some, community resistance to what I was planning to do is just that's not the case.
Oh, very important there. She said there was absolutely no community resistance whatsoever. Right? Right? That's what she said. Friends of Chinatown. Safety warning for Kensington. Chinatown for Saturday, July 10th, 2021. That seems like there was concern and a warning. And there was another one, but I can't find it now. So no, the community definitely, there was complaints.
There were a handful of people who were upset, and
No, not a handful of people, an entire community or organization, businesses. You're downplaying it, and that's not fair at all to the reality of the situation.
organized against me. And then I've never been able to redeem myself in their eyes, although I was never seeking redemption.
Okay, nobody organized against you. They organized against Chris Sky, and you keep making it about you, and I don't know why. It's not about you, it's about Chris Sky. So here's another one.
I mean, I don't know that it's entirely organic. It is conceivable that there are people who don't like me based on my personality. I accept that.
No, wrong video. Sorry about that.
What do you make of this? What do you make of, other than jealous, because she admitted it?
She's clearly jealous
talking about
why is this
Erica
happening?
Iffel.
Why are you being targeted,
right,
and who do you think is pushing this? Because this is not a singular effort. This isn't one person going, I have an issue with Caryma, and everybody else jumping on, because all the people that have issues with you are super hardcore weirdo lefties, like fucking weird.
And here we have Dean Blundell again attacking the left, as he did prior in that article that quoted his blog.
Like weird, where they invent shit to trap people, which is very reminiscent, in my opinion, of what the Anti-Hate Network does. So what do you make of this? How do you reconcile all this stuff?
I mean, I don't know that it's entirely organic. It is conceivable that there are people who don't like me based on my personality.
Have the same video? I must have linked it. Okay, so point being is that there is no conspiracy at all whatsoever. CAN doesn't have paid agents. They're not messaging people and getting them to go after anybody. It's not at all what's going on. They wrote an article and they moved on with their lives. Caryma has not. And I'm almost thinking that she's using the Canadian Anti-Hate Network as a scapegoat for what happened to her in Chinatown, or what she feels happened to her in Chinatown, rather than what was done to the residents. And yeah, it's just a scapegoat. She doesn't want to blame the community. She doesn't want to, alienate herself any further than she already did. So, cancer boogeyman. I guess a good analogy for that is the same way she sees CAN, the same way as the far right sees the WEF. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But it just goes to show you again that, she knew what she was doing. She knew the dangers. And when things went south, like everybody told her it would, She refused to apologize or accept any responsibility for it whatsoever. And a lot can be forgiven, even if it was just a partial accountability for her role in it, but there's absolutely none. There's zero accountability. And that's a common trend with her that we'll discuss a little bit later further on.